Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African Nationalist and Garveyite network committed to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think black people acquire too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down, it wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They're in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedral Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
All right, peace, family. Let me just put on this. Boom. So we're actually going to just read one of the old articles on my website. This is back in the days. I guess you guys can't see the top, but the hyperlink. Let me see if I can actually. I'll drag it down a bit. So one way to read these websites is to look at the hyperlink on the top, and you can see when it was written, pretty much. Obviously, you can always edit it after it's written, but in this case, I don't think I did. But this was written back in, let me just see, I was adjusting the window. This was written back in 2013, right? And it's based off a true story, okay? And here's the date right here. We don't just give our money to anybody. So this should be a short one, honestly. So let me know what you think about this. But, back in the day, I used to start off my articles with, in the service of our ancestors and African love, listen, seeker, I come in peace. I'm going to grab the mic for a moment, Let's move it a little closer. It says, by the time the fool has learned the game. So I usually would start off with this introduction and then a quote, right? So it's by the time the fool has learned the game, the players have dispersed. Okay? Now this is a truism in life, Let's take it to the present, right? Like I said, I think I said it yesterday. New York City just gave money to some victims of something happening in Europe. Okay, fine, right? It did not give money to the victims of something that happened in America. Even though there were, how many, who knows, many agitators for whatever happened in America, right? And those agitators, those grifters, right? They earned good money. Okay, they earned good money. They earned a good living. They earned a good year or decades income, right? Uh, they earned a good decades income. And doing so, in agitating for money for black people generally, they individually earned decades, lifetimes, who knows, income. And then they dispersed. And then they dispersed. And I know I say African proverb. Obviously, this is something that African Americans say. This by the time the fools learn how the game is played. By the time the fools learn the game, the players are dispersed. So I think usually I see it as before those fools have learned how the game is played, right? The players have dispersed. But it is what it is. Let's go. It says the game of capitalism says simple. It has one rule: money empowers. Right? That's the. Now again, this is over a decade ago. Okay, this is 2013. So if I sound a little bit more naive about the planet, that's how it is for everybody. 10 years ago, there's nobody. I mean, if you are not more naive 10 years ago, then there's only two things that could, either you are at the same level of naivete, right? You didn't really grow much intellectually, or you are more naive, in which case you shrunk intellectually. So if I sound more naive in the past, right? That's good. That's a good sign. That just means that I didn't stop growing yet. But anyway, so the game of capitalism is simple. It has one rule: money empowers. However, despite the simplicity, it's neither intuitive nor common knowledge. People are deliberately oriented towards consumption, whereas it's through production capitalism is played. These are actually pretty deep. But anyway, let's keep going. What's more, capitalists spend fortunes shaping the minds of consumers, particularly indoctrinating consumers with individualism and selfishness. Now, again, I don't use individualism anymore, but this idea of, hey, you're oriented towards consumption, as opposed to production, which again, I don't usually do production consumption dichotomy, but even in this book right now that I'm doing, I'm actually more so, dichotomizing between, let's say, necessities and luxuries, right? But, this production paradigm is actually really good too, because you want to be a productive people at the end of the day. But anyway, what's more, capitalists spend fortunes shape, and so capitalists, and I don't blame capitalists anymore, but capitalists do spend fortunes trying to shape you into getting luxuries. That's what I'd probably say today. I probably wouldn't say capitalists, but it is what it is. Most people in America can finish a sentence, survival of the, with fittest, as this was one of the main instructions given them. Few can finish a sentence. A community without a community center is with dead, because this is never instructed by capitalists, right? So this is Vata Dikanda and Bongo Diafwa, right? That's the Congolese saying for... Oh, here it goes, right here. Vata Dikanda. Vata Dikanda. I thought I knew it. I didn't. I tried to memorize this, but I guess again, it's like 11 years. I was going to... Vata Dikando and Bongi Diafwa. All right. So despite the lack of instruction, a community without a community center is dead. Vata Dikando and Bongi Diafwa. In an African instruction ironically adopted by every other group in America but Africans. Okay? A community without a community center is dead. Let's say a Christian community without a church is dead. A Jewish community without a synagogue is dead. A African nationalist community without a Liberty Hall is dead. Okay? And you could even just be more with it. It doesn't even have to have a fancy name that we all recognize. It could just be a Dominican community. Without a Dominican community center is dead. And that's partly what we're going to talk about now. So, oftentimes, other groups will tell you, we only support our race. And we as Africans may mirror them without looking deeper into the proclamation. Realistically speaking, without a public forum with regular meetings and tests of virtue, it may not benefit you to trust every member of your race. And whereas it may never benefit you to trust any member of another race, supporting a community-minded African of virtue is the true goal. So I still have this message in my writing. I just say it differently. By the time I reach to the Book of Power, we talk about Ancobia, and now in this next book, we're not even talking about Ancobia. We're talking about another thing altogether. But you kind of see, this is the building blocks. This is why this is why, let's say, even in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, right? To become a lawmaker, you might have had to study for 40 years. Okay? Because look, this was me in my 20s, right? And I didn't have a word for what we were talking about. Granted, I could have just threw out a word, but I didn't have a word. For instance, investments are about spending money to receive greater benefits, oftentimes more money, right? Let's see. Brother Bakari's here. Brother Bakari says, kind of late, ain't ya? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I said to myself, I'm going to start doing burpees before I go to bed. And it wasn't just that. I also was on my phone and stuff. But I don't know. I just woke up and I was like, damn, it's 11:10. Had to go brush my teeth first. You already know. So I didn't even eat breakfast. I'm just here. But he said, receive greater benefits, oftentimes more money. Yet if one is not careful, one can invest and gain nothing in return. That's what happened to my farm, actually. So I bought this farm. Then there was a drought. There was no rain in Tanzania. And then there was a flood. There was too much rain in Tanzania. And I know you're like, man, that's what the person tells you. You know what? It is. That's the trouble. But the other trouble is this. It's well known that there was a flood. And it's well known there was a drought. This is another reason why some of the technology, this white boy was just in talking about how good his technology is, right? This why some of the technology in this world is probably pretty good. I mean, you could probably mitigate floods and mitigate thing. Now, and here's another thing too. There's a way to mitigate droughts. If you had like a big water tank, right? But that also costs a huge amount of money. So this is why, again, I think that there is such a thing as an intelligent investment, and realistically, engaging people like there's a process towards being successful in agriculture, and I couldn't peep it at the time that I bought the land. So the person that I bought the land from, I guess low key, again, I think it goes back to this. It may not benefit you to trust every member of your race. Okay? It may not benefit you to trust every member of your race. I shouldn't have trusted this person, but again, you can't really blame them for the environment. But again, what is their technological savviness? You see all the crops are going to burn from a drought. How do you what are your resources in order to get more water there? But of course, it is what it is. It's just money lost. But at the end of the day, the thing about money is this. Chances are you're going to get more. You know what I mean? Chances are you're going to get more. So whenever you're burned by money, you just get more. And another thing is, obviously, do not invest more than you can afford to lose. You know what I mean? I could afford to lose the money I invested in the farm. I'm just a little disappointed because the same person was asking me, what about you give 10 times more? And if I had given 10 times more, I mean, obviously I could still afford it, but, I would have, it would have been stupid, So I'm a little bit angry at this person for that, but it is what it is. Especially because they were so confident about pulling a profit and they managed to pull nothing, as far as I can tell. Now, granted, they could be, I mean, it's very unlikely that they're living, high on the hog off of that money, but again, it is what it is. Especially if those with whom they invest cannot be held accountable through social organization. And see, that's the issue that I have with this person too. I don't know anything about them. Not to say I don't know anything about them, but I mean, I should have followed my own. So I guess I did get more naive after. But low key, I just didn't know the language, honestly. And I thought there was I don't know. I was just in my. I guess I was tripping low key. I'll just put it that way. But especially those with whom they can invest, they cannot hold accountable. So one thing you want to know about somebody if you're going to lend them money is where do they live? Where does their family live? Okay? Just know those things. If you're going to lend a significant amount of money. The thing about this is that I usually thought money was a little insignificant. Like the money that they were talking about was insignificant, so I didn't really care that deeply, but low key it was a little significant after a while, after people were not, repaying you, it was kind of significant because the part of the reason that made it so insignificant was that I was investing in multiple people, and I was like, well, if one of them returns, it's good enough. But it turns out the economy is just either it's not good or the people are just not good. Or the people that I met were just not good. So it is what it is. This is why the African Blood Siblings, and that was my organization back then, needs to increase its membership and create more African Blood Siblings community centers. Now again, the probability of this, now I'm in a scientific mindset of probability and all that kind of stuff. So the probability of this was not too high. Now, if I had been successful, you guys would have probably known me as the organizer of the African Blood Siblings, and you probably would have been asking me, how can I join one of your community centers? But things never popped off for me, as an organizer. So, you don't know me as that, and that's fine, it is what it is. But it is what it is, right? Oh, snap, I said Hidden Colors too. Oh, I see I got a clip of the Hidden Colors. Well, I guess I don't have it thing. So the basis of the following story was told to me by an African Blood Siblings member who spoke to me about her daughter, right? I embellished it a little, though I call them Asians. Most people call them West Indians. They did an interesting protest that I felt deserved the story. Not surprisingly, many groups are like this. Claude Anderson told a similar story on Hidden Colors 2. See the clip below. So I don't remember Hidden Colors 2. I don't think I watched it, but I think I saw the clip online of Claude Anderson. But I guess they took down the video. That makes a lot of sense. So then you got me saying, please donate to and join with the African Blood Siblings. Learn particularly that without a community center, our community center is dead. No, our community is dead. So you guys have the donate button. We got Brother Bakari in the chat. So if you want to hit that Cash App, you can. Hold on a second. I gotta remove that button, by the way. But yeah, if you want to hit the Cash App, you can. So he says, we don't just give our money to anybody. Based on a true story by Onitaset, that's me, Oni. It was a soft whisper from one Asian to the next. But after I heard it, my stomach twisted and my 5 senses kicked in. The odor to the drink I was gulping suddenly overwhelmed my nose. Its taste was foul. I wiped the beverage from my tongue after requesting a napkin from the unwilling waitress. $16 for this cup, and I have to beg for one napkin? I looked over to the Asians, mingling at this baby shower, greeting us and smiling, and wondered what was it one said to the other before, we don't just give our money to anybody. I sat, thought, and watched. It was my granddaughter's baby shower. She had given birth to twins. Her partner is an Asian by way of the West Indies. His family did not arrive on time, though they are fastidious. They did not drink at the bar, though they are heavy drinkers. They did not eat any dinner, though it was free. Each made a scene, coming together, but showing no appreciation for the venue. The venue I spent $250 to rent. Now, in retrospect, that's actually cheap, right? Well, 10 years ago, that was expensive. But anyway, it was pretty. What do they say before we don't just give our money to anybody? Do they mean Europeans? What's it matter who holds the venue as long as it's pretty? So we had paper cups and paper plates. So the drinks were overpriced in merely little drops. So the food was served in their venue. So it was $250 for something tacky. It looks pretty, doesn't it? So the bar serving Europeans on the other side had tall glasses and cheap happy hour and an ambiance of general service. So Europeans don't like us. It was pretty. Isn't that what is important? The nerve of these people. They showed up late to my granddaughter's baby shower. Together. This was deliberate. Organized. How dare they? And none of them ate. None of them drank. They embarrassed me. Hello, how are you? Yes, I am glad that you can make it. Good to see you too. That was close. I have to calm down. Maybe they already ate, though they should not have. It's probably their culture. Maybe they already drank. That's possible. I don't know. Perhaps they don't drink at baby showers. Although my daughter's partner did question my choice here, he said, "We have our own places." So what? Is it pretty? But thinking of what he said, this can just be a family conspiracy. But all of them? That's unlikely. No family is so organized. No family I know anyway. Hey, it's good to see you again. Have fun. The drinks are great here. She was just smiling. What's her deal? Oh, she needed to get her coat. All these Asians are grabbing their coats. Well, here comes the father of the twins now. Oh, you're heading out? Where? An Asian place? Have fun. And now they are all leaving. We can still have fun. So many of our guests arrived hours late and left hours early. We can still have fun. I paid $250. I paid hundreds for catering. We must have fun. I'll walk around to keep everyone cheerful. Oh, that, they said? They said they were coming late and leaving early. It's okay. It's what their people do. Do you want another drink? Too expensive? Well, all right. I'll talk with you again. We just don't give our money to anybody. I need to think on that. But now these Europeans are telling us to clean up after ourselves. $250 to get paper plates, paper cuts, expensive drinks, no food, and now we must clean up after ourselves. $250 for late guests and early exits, and they are now drinking and laughing and carrying on somewhere else. We don't just give our money to anybody. What could possibly have been said? I remember a child was there, looking at the food on my plate. Maybe that was it. He was telling his children how not all that glitters is gold, and he would sacrifice for his race. What was I telling my children? All that glitters is gold? Sacrifice for another race? I'm stuck with the bill. $250 is not cheap. Catering myself is not cheap. I cleaned up, miss. Have a nice day. I don't know this European woman. I never saw her before. She made me beg for napkins after I paid $250 and bought drinks for everyone. I had to beg for napkins. I bet those Asians know the owner of the venue at their after party. Why do I give my money to anybody? Why are my own people nobodies to me? What do these Asians have different? Is it their community center? I noticed that a long time ago, even before I noticed them. It must have been the first building they set up. What did he say after? Oh, let me ask my mother what that father said to his son. She was right beside them. We don't just give our money to anybody. We are Asians by way of the West Indies. While I was in the Caribbean, this community financed your mother and my trip to America. It was the work of the local community center. Since then, I have visited the center every week I could and supported the people who weekly attended and improved this community and back home. Hold your hunger, my son. We'll soon be in an establishment that cares for us. The owner has been a family friend for decades. We don't just give our money to anybody. We give our money to our friends. Friends we made and strengthened in the community center we built. These Africans give their money to just anybody. That is why, in a short time, We came to dominate them. Know this, son, and teach your sons. Money empowers. Those who empower their enemies ask for their own oppression. We don't just give our money to anybody. Okay, so that's the story. So actually, I didn't read that recently. I just saw the title and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I read this. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting. I can't remember what Caribbean group it was. I want to say it was, I don't know, like Guyanese or something. Maybe it was Guyanese. I don't remember. But the idea is that, you had these foreigners who came to, like it was like upstate New York or something. But they came to a black and white area where the white people dominated the economy. Okay, it was a black area, kind of, but the white people dominated the economy, right? This is, typical. This was typical 10 years ago, especially, right? It's probably a little better now in certain black areas, but maybe not, right? So they came to this community, and what they did was they set up a community center, okay? And through that community center, through community lending, community whatever, they were able to get a whole bunch of their people from the Caribbean. And again, this is not Black Caribbeans, but like West Indian Caribbean, like Asian community, Asian Caribbeans, right? They set up a whole bunch of shops and so forth, and then they came to own quite a bit and be kind of like have an independent economy or a more independent economy than the black folk did, right? But the black people continued to patronize the white folk, or they would patronize the Guyanese people, but they wouldn't patronize themselves, pretty much, right? And in so doing, the Guyanese, they continue to like they kept to themselves, and they're continuing to grow, and they're continuing to be influential. They have their own politicians now. They have this and so forth. That's the kind of like organization, the kind of strategy that black folk should implement. This is the kind of strategy that every other people implement. But because we don't, we end up with, well, when it's time to, get a service that, might be a good service, we don't. Like we have to go to another people. And so this example, this is most of this is true, obviously. Where the person had to ask for a napkin, where the drinks were expensive, where the venue was expensive, where they didn't get food or whatever. And the Asian people, the Guyanese people, let's say, right, they came in late and they left early. And they didn't eat any food. They didn't drink any drinks. And they did like a silent protest against black folk for going for the pretty venue. Like the white people had a pretty venue, but it was, but they didn't organize. Again, not all that glitters is gold, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices in order for your people to do better and to do well. And this was 10 years ago. That same little child that was here, probably a good leader in his own community, and if they have, let's say if this little kid developed, I don't know where the little kid is, but if the little kid developed a negative sentiment towards black people, he might be because his family told him, hey, look, we don't give our money to anybody. Okay, we just don't give our money to anybody, and look at what good that can do for us. Whereas black people, they might be pretty, you could have sex with them, you could even marry them, but you can't be led by them because where's their leadership? And then this is really what we have to start addressing. Now, obviously, I don't agree with miscegenation. I don't agree with so on and so forth. But this was the story. So anyway, that's pretty much the whole podcast, though. I appreciate everybody for coming through. I know I showed up a little late. I'm gonna be like these motherfuckers, right? I'm setting the tone. They showed up late and they left early. But that's pretty much the podcast. I just wanted to read that short story and then go grab some breakfast because I just woke up. But other than that, Shemim Hotep, Uncle Jas, and Neb. Amen, Ma'at, Dua, Neter.